Hollywood legend Robert Redford has died. He was 89 years old. He was only nominated once for an Oscar, but by the 1970s, he was the biggest star in the world.
When Robert Redford passed away, the world mourned the loss of a Hollywood icon, a man whose career spanned decades defined by charm, talent, and a legacy of unforgettable films. But behind the public admiration lay a truth far darker, one that shocked even those closest to him. As family and friends gathered to say their goodbyes, whispers spread of something extraordinary. Redford had left behind a blacklist, a collection of names so despised that he ordered they be kept away from his funeral at all costs. These weren't obscure figures or distant enemies. They were some of the brightest stars in Hollywood. Actors Redford had shared the screen with, collaborated alongside, and once even called friends. The revelation stunned the film world. How could a man celebrated as one of Hollywood's most gracious leading men harbor such bitterness? Yet the truth, tucked away in his final notes and remembered by those closest to him, painted a picture of a man who carried private grudges until the very end. Before we go further, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep uncovering stories from Hollywood's golden age, stories that revealed the rivalries and secrets hidden behind the spotlight. For Robert Redford, death did not soften old wounds. Instead, it exposed them. His Blacklist became one of the most controversial posthumous revelations in Hollywood history. A document that revealed a lifetime of rivalries, betrayals, and personal disappointments. And at the top of that list was an actor whose clashes with Redford had grown so heated that they nearly came to blows on set. Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman and Robert Redford were both titans of American cinema, but their relationship was poisoned almost from the beginning. The trouble started with The Graduate. That 1967 classic was originally offered to Redford, but he turned it down, believing he couldn't convincingly play a naive young man. The role instead went to Hoffman, and the success of that film launched his career. Years later, fate brought the two men together on All the President's Men. To the public, it was a perfect pairing. Hoffman as Carl Bernstein and Redford as Bob Woodward, the two journalists who unraveled Watergate. But behind the camera, it was anything but harmonious. Hoffman's perfectionism quickly became a nightmare. He insisted on endless retakes, often pushing scenes into double-digit takes, testing the patience of both cast and crew. Redford, a professional who valued precision but also efficiency, grew increasingly frustrated. At one point, Hoffman's demands escalated into outright clashes, with the two men shouting across the set. Crew members recalled the tension, saying it was so intense that it felt like a fist fight could erupt at any moment. It wasn't just creative differences. Hoffman had a reputation for undermining Redford, taking public jabs at him, mocking his clean-cut image, even pulling humiliating stunts. At the Golden Globes, Hoffman allegedly tripped Redford as he walked to the stage, a move Redford never forgot. To him, it was proof that Hoffman wasn't just difficult. He was petty, disrespectful, and eager to steal the spotlight at any cost. In later years, when asked about his colleagues, Redford rarely spoke harshly. But when Hoffman's name came up, he made no effort to hide his disdain. Friends claim he once described Hoffman as the most despicable man he had ever known. Strong words, but ones that revealed the depth of a grudge Redford carried for decades. For Redford, Dustin Hoffman wasn't just a difficult co-star.
He was a rival who turned every collaboration into a battlefield. And it was a feud that followed him all the way to the grave, ensuring Hoffman's name was among the first written on that secret blacklist.
Robert Redford admired dedication, restraint, and a sense of responsibility, qualities he felt defined true artistry. Leonardo DiCaprio, however, represented everything he despised. On screen, DiCaprio had a reputation as one of the most talented actors of his generation. Off-screen, his life was defined by excess. Redford was particularly disgusted by DiCaprio's obsession with dating women far younger than himself, often barely out of their teens. Friends say Redford once described the actor as a man trapped in permanent adolescence. One incident at the Cannes Film Festival seemed to confirm Redford's low opinion. During a dinner crowded with Hollywood elite, DiCaprio allegedly behaved in a way so inappropriate and reckless that it became the talk of the night. To Redford, it wasn't just embarrassing. It was proof that DiCaprio had no respect for himself or those around him. What angered Redford even more was the hypocrisy. DiCaprio built his public image around environmental activism. He gave speeches at the United Nations, championed climate awareness, and was often photographed at charity galas. But away from the cameras, he lived a life of unchecked indulgence, luxury yachts, private jets, and lavish parties that left behind carbon footprints larger than entire neighborhoods. To Redford, who had spent decades trying to bring attention to environmental causes with sincerity, DiCaprio's double life was infuriating. He saw it as shallow, performative, and insulting to the very movement he had dedicated his reputation to. Redford's anger wasn't subtle either. In private conversations, he called DiCaprio an eyesore and made it clear that he wanted no association with him in life or death. When the Blacklist was discovered after his passing, DiCaprio's name was written firmly on it. For Redford, Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't just a Hollywood playboy. He was the symbol of everything wrong with modern celebrity: vanity without substance, activism without sacrifice, fame without humility. Tom Hanks, the idea thief. Hanks had long been Hollywood's Mr. Nice Guy, but Redford saw through it. Their fallout began with Charlie Wilson's War, which Redford believed was his project, stolen and turned into Hanks's film. Redford was so shaken by the betrayal, friends say, it triggered a health scare. Beyond that, Redford grew tired of Hanks's fiery temper behind closed doors, script throwing, storming off sets, even humiliating colleagues in public forums. To Redford, he wasn't America's sweetheart, but a snake in disguise, and snakes don't get invited to funerals. Brad Pitt, the ungrateful protégé. Redford gave Pitt his breakthrough role in A River Runs Through It, even grooming him as Hollywood's next leading man. But as Pitt rose, gratitude turned to distance and eventually denial. Pitt downplayed Redford's influence in interviews, showed up late on sets, and leaned heavily into the very vices Redford despised: parties, drinking, and erratic behavior. Their mentor-protégé bond snapped, leaving Redford feeling used and disrespected. Pitt's absence from the funeral list was not oversight, it was deliberate. Jeff Bridges, the filthy slob. To audiences, Bridges was laid-back charm,
To Redford, he was a professional nightmare. Rumors of poor hygiene followed Bridges across sets: stained clothes, unkempt hair, a body odor that distracted co-workers, and sloppy performances that forced retakes. Redford, known for precision and discipline, found this a disgrace to the craft. In his view, filmmaking was sacred, and Bridges' casual filth showed no respect. That lack of discipline ensured his name made the blacklist.
Robert De Niro, the two-faced snake. What began as mutual admiration crumbled into rivalry and mistrust. Redford accused De Niro of being two-faced, warm in public but undermining in private. Their festival empires, Sundance and Tribeca, became bitter rivals, with De Niro allegedly dismissing Sundance as quaint while publicly praising it. Add his explosive temper, profanity-laced tirades, and a habit of belittling peers, and Redford's patience snapped. He saw De Niro not as an ally, but as a backstabber, and barred him from his funeral as payback. Michael Douglas, the arrogant heir. Douglas carried a legacy name, but also a shadow. Redford never forgave. His well-documented infidelity, rehab for sex addiction, and an unforgettable moment of openly flirting with Redford's wife cut deeply. On set, Douglas's arrogance surfaced in domineering behavior, trying to control decisions and belittle others. In interviews, he even dismissed Redford's conservation efforts as self-serving PR. To Redford, this wasn't rivalry, it was insult. Keeping Douglas away from the funeral was his final statement. George Clooney, the opportunist. Clooney's suave image fooled most, but Redford saw an operator. At events, Clooney hijacked microphones to turn tributes into political speeches. He boasted of meetings with presidents and prime ministers, always angling for the spotlight. Worst of all, Clooney's influence with the media and sponsors often cost Redford support for Sundance, replacing legacy with flash. To Redford, Clooney's charm wasn't charisma, it was calculation. That's why his name appeared on the forbidden list. In the end, Redford was frail, withdrawn, and bitterly reflective. At his Utah home, he scribbled notes saying, "Don't let them into my funeral," and left behind a blacklist of 8 names. To the world, he was a legend: actor, director, activist, festival founder. Yet privately, he carried grudges to his grave, ensuring that those he felt betrayed by would never share in his final chapter. His story closes as both a towering legacy and a warning about pride, loyalty, and loneliness. If you've been gripped by this hidden side of Hollywood, make sure to like and subscribe. More untold stories are on their way.